So with all of that, so we talked about do more with less. We talked about lowering costs. We talked about simplifying management. We talked about, frankly, building new skills. With all of that has gone on, you all have come to us and said, we still want you to do one more thing. MSM is great. It's wonderful. We really appreciate it. But it only deals with a fraction of the day of a mainframer. It only deals with software acquisition, installation, and deployment. What about the other 23 hours in the day of managing the mainframe? And how can you simplify that? So the challenge was put out to us, how to build and what should the next generation of mainframe management look like to capture that expert knowledge and be able to transfer it to anybody in context. How to do it in such a way that it enables next generation mainframers quickly. And as Tapscott told us a year ago, the net generation coming out of school, they act and they think differently. Their expectations about how technology should work are more about an iPad. I want to open it up, I want to turn it on, and I want an intuitive user interface, and I want it to work. I grew up with suck it up and go read the manual. And, I might be old school, but hey, it worked for me, but there are different expectations now. Collaboration to me, by the way, is let's get together for a cup of coffee, let's go grab lunch together, and let's go talk about it. So for us, it demanded an entirely new approach. It demanded us to act and think differently, which is exactly what we did. But the first thing that we did is we went out and scanned the marketplace to understand what were some of the best-in-class technologies that were already out there that we might, in fact, be able to leverage. So the first thing we took a look at was the Vulkan Mind Meld, a wonderful technology, been around for, I think, about 45 years. Of course, it's very effective if you're a Vulkan. But if you're a mere mortal, we've had a lot of trouble commercializing the technology, so it's not really going to work for knowledge transfer. The second one that's used all the time is HOPE. This technology is used by managers more than we'd probably like to admit. We hope somebody's going to do something about this. We hope the skills are going to transfer. While it's emotionally nurturing and makes us feel good, it actually rarely gets the job done. The third technology that is a real technology that the presidents of my user groups educated me on was the Magic Notebook. Many of you know exactly what the Magic Notebook is. The Magic Notebook is the notebook held by the elite few, writing down best practices, writing down some of the undocumented features, and sharing it among mainframers in the group. It's great for the elite, but it's typically inaccessible and incomprehensible to novices. So with that, we had to take a more traditional approach, a more integrated approach. We grabbed some of the best and brightest inside of CA. We went outside of CA, worked with one of the best industrial design firms in the world that is skilled on user-centric design and intuitive interfaces. And lastly, of course, we worked with many of you, our customers, and we did deep technology immersions to help understand how you use the tools. From these immersions, we learned three big lessons. We took a look at DBAs first. One of the first things we saw is we saw DBAs opening up 6 or 7 screens and toggling back and forth to get different bits of information. And we learned that tool integration was needed. The next thing we saw is we saw the DBAs grabbing massive amounts of tabular data, dumping it into Excel and graphing it so they could do cause and effect and correlation analysis. And we realized that rich visualization of data was also needed. And third, we took a look at what is really the collaboration and knowledge management system that exists today for the mainframe. Here's what it is. You recognize this. This is the 3270 screen. You got the yellow stickies around it with some of your notes, and you see the notebook in the corner. Now, of course, I showed this slide, and somebody put up their hand and said, no, that's actually not true. Our chief security officer will not let us have the yellow stickies around the screen, so we put them under the keypad. This approach is one generation behind, but this is the knowledge management system for the platform that we just discussed earlier is running the global economy. Scary thought. So working with our customers, we went into a very iterative design mode, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until we thought we had something, until you thought we had something, and we came up with this. CA Mainframe Chorus. Looks entirely different. What jumps out immediately is the rich visualization, the integration of the underlying data. It is an integrated role-based workspace. Role-based meaning DB2, security, workload automation, integrating the underlying tools and allowing you to customize it like a Google homepage. And underneath all of this is an extraordinarily powerful knowledge capture and transfer system that would allow an expert to solve a problem, capture his or her workflow, edit it, annotate it, put it in a database that can be retrieved later by somebody who has got to solve a similar problem, can look and find out what are the last 5 or 6 ways that experts actually solve the problem. I love that picture, and I could sit and talk about it all morning. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I don't want to give you 1,000 words. What I would rather do is call up my chief architect, Scott Fagan, to give a brief demo of Chorus.
So what we're looking at, if we are up and running here, is mainframe Chorus. Essentially, this is our next step, the next stage in mainframe management. One of the things that we took back from our customers as we collaborated with them was, don't put a distributed server in between me and my stuff. So this all runs directly on the mainframe. There's a web server, app server, all running there. It's integrated. And so what we're taking a look at here is the workspace itself. Across the top are a set of these modules that you can see down here in larger form. They scroll. I know some people get a little nauseous when they watch the thing go like a train through a train station. So you can actually make it run like a stock ticker, pull it back and forth. You can set these up to go different colors if a threshold is reached. And so what we have here is a scenario that's kind of an imagination of what Chorus would have done for a particular customer scenario. They had a situation where they were a smaller shop. They actually had integrated the roles of security and database administration with several people, and a person made an incorrect security management decision, giving somebody who shouldn't have the rights to a database full of customer and credit card information. And that person went off and hit Amazon.com and went on a buying spree. And they discovered this after several months of kind of reverse forensic accounting on their own systems to figure out who had done it. And this is kind of what could have happened if they were using Chorus.
Lastly, we talked about practical innovation. And I think the definition of practical innovation basically changed as the Z Enterprise was launched. No longer is it sufficient just to simply manage the mainframe or manage distributed. Now it's going to require managing the integrated complex across both pieces. So with that, our customers said the number one thing that they needed to deal with was application performance management. And so as we take a look forward and say, what is application performance management going to look like? Well, ultimately, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to be able to track a customer transaction from the customer across the web, through the distributed architecture, through the mainframe architecture, and all the way back out. And if a problem were to pop up, what happens? Well, what happens today is you get a dozen people on the phone or 20 people on the phone, and you have what we call a blame storming session. Find out whose fault it is and persecute them. In an integrated world, what you'd rather have is you'd rather have a single pane of glass where you can monitor the transaction across the entire fabric, and if a problem occurs, be able to drill down and pinpoint literally to the line of code where the problem is and resolve it before an SLA is breached or before customer satisfaction levels deteriorate. This is literally available today through the integration of Wiley and SysView from CA on for cross-enterprise, cross-platform application performance management. And Scott, if you would take the folks through a brief demo of some of the exciting things we're working on back in the labs, I think they're going to like it.
Yeah, this one's from way down deep. We have this technology that actually is very much in line with what IBM has done with the Z Enterprise and a lot of the things that we're talking about with cloud computing called AppLogic. And what AppLogic allows you to do is take sort of a CAD/CAM view of your infrastructure or a cloud infrastructure and be able to apply applications based on the various bits and pieces that make up that application. So what we're showing you here, in essence, is a part of somebody's enterprise. In our case, this is a vendor, an e-vendor in the UK, who has basically a 3-tier application set up, the web tier. They run their app serving on Z-Linux with the back-end credit card management and transactional management database on Kix DB2 on a 2-way sysplex, right? Well, this is should be very familiar to just about everybody. So basically what happens is they have an RSS feed into the ManU website. The game gets ready to start, and we'll take a look at we'll first look at the actual properties of the system that actually matter here. And so what we're looking at over here, right, we don't have all of the UI rejiggered for sysplex and that kind of stuff, but we have a data sharing group here, and what we can show you is that the systems are set up for 450 MSUs, normally with a capacity on demand up to 600. And then we can actually start the scenario and show that what will happen is the RSS feed will show that about a half hour before the game starts, it's time to start cranking up the web infrastructure. The guys are headed to the bar, they're glued to the television, right? We're able to fire up a couple more web servers, a couple of more app servers, and over here on the ZOS side, we actually crank up the size of the LPARs to accommodate for the additional load that's going to come in, right? Because the provisioning paradigms for the two different platforms are very different, right? You bring up more Linuxes versus increasing the size of the container on the ZOS side. So now during the game, the women are off ordering stuff. This company is very happy because many thousands of pounds are being spent on their stuff, and stuff goes out the door. The game winds down and ends, and automatically, right, they basically have this set up on a calendar. The deprovisioning occurs, and the Z Linuxes start to come down. The web tier starts to come down. Capacity on demand is removed. Right, we go back to our standard 450 MSUs, and you're off and basically you're back to running under the normal infrastructure.
To bring this home, we talked about the challenges in the future. We talked about controlling costs, sustaining skills, and increasing agility. 18 months ago, we made some promises that we'd help to maximize value. To do that, we've delivered the MVP program, and we also talked about how you can do more with less. To sustain critical skills, we promised to help simplify management. And you saw today MSM, you saw Chorus. We had our generous gift to the share community from Brad regarding the Mainframe Academy. Around increasing agility, we talked about practical innovation. You got a glimpse of what cross-platform, cross-enterprise application performance management looks like through the SysView Wiley integration, and you also got a peek at what breakthrough innovation is going to look like when we start talking about cloud management and cloud provisioning. We started the day with Peter Drucker's quote talking about the best way to predict the future was to create it. And IBM has created the next generation of mainframe unlike anything that the world has ever seen. And you saw from CA Technologies that we have created the next generation of mainframe management unlike anything the world has ever seen. We know from history that it's not easy to predict the future. And frankly, it's challenging. It's challenging at times, and we don't know everything that's going to happen to the mainframe. But what we do know is that together, if we collaborate as an ecosystem, and if we act together, and we communicate, and we work together, that together we can create a future for the mainframe unlike anything that the world has ever seen. Thank you very much.